And welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time, Victoria 3. We're trying to finish up this Great Qing run before the next major patch comes out, I believe, on the 11th. We're playing this... Well, we started the stream today on the 8th. It is now officially the 9th. We're going to try to get the stream done during... Or trying to get this run done during the stream, so that by the time we come around to where we'd be Victorian 3 again, it will be the new major patch. We'll do America, I think. It'll be a little less frustrating than trying to deal with unemployment people being radicals, which is impinging on our ability to deal with the unemployment. That's very rewarding when you successfully deal with it. It's very frustrating when you're finally behind the 8 ball and you realize, I did not do it quick enough. Yeah, we're getting hit with the turmoil, which causes state construction inefficiency. And this is the minus 50%, as you can see there. We've got law enforcement reducing by 50%, so yeah, real bad. The dreaded 8 could be worse. Yeah, I might have to go around the world building iron and lead and rubber for us to import. But yeah, I think we've hit the point where we are expanding the industry fast enough that unemployment is declining. Although you can see the peasants have basically gone away at this point, because we've had social welfare laws in place long enough that people don't demote to subsistence farms, or you can see examples here. All the farms have been used up, which does the same thing. They can't demote to a subsistence farm if there isn't one to demote to. Yeah, so for a while we've apparently been dealing more with the fact that we've been employing the peasants more than we've been employing the unemployed. Which of course is running out because we're running out of peasants at this point. Oh, I need more government bureaucracy to meet the needs of the expanding government bureaucracy. Okay, first stop, government admin. Any place we don't have enough taxation capacity. Yep, 1, 2. And then we have high levels. Let's come down. Should probably be enough for the moment. At this point, we're globally close enough to the end of the game that as long as I did not make the balance worse, we could probably deficit spend at this rate till the end of the game. A positivist. Of course we know who it was us. We'll just let him be wounded and lower that group. Well, they are pro-corporatist. Yeah, the Constitutional Association is off in the lead. They're gonna handily win this election. Yeah, we haven't got back up to our standard of living golden ages, but that was under full old age pensions, and now we're on poorhouses. Yeah, everything at this point. If I want to continue expanding, sort of directed, I need to probably actually generate resources abroad for us to import. Oh. My ally is calling me to war against my ally. Hopefully I can just sit on the sidelines over here and ignore the war. Max number of companies. What company do I want to give that to? So you could technically hold out till we pick up ability to build this one, 20% construction sector throughput. Although that probably would have been much better earlier in the game. This late, it's not super valuable. Paradise Steel Industry, I believe. Clothing is an option. Let's try to do clothing and silk. And then I don't think I've got any... Yeah, to give you cotton plantations, I need influence. Or I need to take a charter off of someone else. Though, at this point, I don't actually think that we have any good cotton places anyway, so that's probably fine for you. Okay, so I can rejig the government. This is the highest legitimacy government unless I chuck the industrialists out of government, so... And this one's actually higher legitimacy than if we're checking them out of the government, so we'll just keep them in government. Okay, we'll drive the credit down a bit, and then we'll start trying to develop raw materials abroad so we can import those materials. Humanitarian is actually not bad. We'll pick the humanitarian up. Yeah, we're back up into positive gold reserves. Ignore the noise of the grumpy people. Resource. Lead. Broad. Sort by unemployed. Actually, serpent job seekers. Okay. See what that does to the lead price. Ideally, we'd be building domestically, but there just isn't enough domestic lead. Or iron. Or... well, there is apparently enough domestic coal. I think there may even be more coal. Domestically... yeah, I got more domestic coal. Although not much more. Most of it's in places where we don't get a lot of employed at this point. Got standard oil, okay. Of course, you click on it, it doesn't bring you to the achievement. You gotta go find the achievement, figure out what it does. Or does it pause the game? Of course, trying to pause the game puts the thing away, so you can't figure out where the thing is. I'm not gonna go find the achievement at this point. If you're interested in what it is, you can probably find it quicker by Googling it. It's probably like owning a foreign oil or something. Oh, and that's not helping with the throughput. Because now we have a general strike. expand our import-export capacity. This also provides more jobs, although it barely supplies any jobs. Although maybe it supplies a decent amount of jobs for its construction cost. It's only... what is this costing to build? Under construction. 1,000 jobs for under construction. It's not too bad, actually. In comparison to some of the factories I'm having to build at this point, which are 800 for 5,000. Okay. War against Russia. Really tempted to go for something like the Baku oil field in this request. Although, of course, the pain that is here is previously we've had a Germany every time we've been fighting them recently. We do not have that luxury. Okay. Be at 47 building levels. Here do Russia. Which is not a lot. Gonna return state. Okay. So let's try to get that state back. Don't know why I have claims on that state. Probably because there was an uprising here. And while we crushed the uprising, it maybe didn't give us our state back. So I'm basically building the British iron mines, hoping that the British can export it so I can buy it from them. Okay. This is one way I suppose I could raise demand. Add groceries to the armies. For the power boost. Ongoing war here. Certain about the tobacco, pretty certain about the rest of them. Oh. Yeah, so I got a claim on it because I've got like half the state. That's what's going on there. And of course, they currently want the half the state, so this is going to make this a little bit of a desperate war. I should probably work towards trench work so we can get the infantry upgraded. Maybe delay the surveillance state a bit. Okay, hopefully once the German war is over, we'll get more help from the British in fighting the Russian one. Emperor in Parliament, so we have a responsible government. A toast to the Advisory Council for God Save the Emperor. You know, we'll stick with the Emperor at this point. Maybe if we get lucky, we'll get Enlightened Royalist. Easy political win there. 50 weeks we'll be back, or 50 weeks we'll be back to where we were. I'm going to take the risk. What's the welfare? Like $500,000? Yeah, I'm going to take the risk. We're going to jump another welfare level. Raising up on that. Oh, that's because it's checking abroad for all the railways. Okay. So we want like another one there. 5 more there. 15 there. Okay. And then maybe another pass on trade centers. So we can get a little bit more trade coming. And or going, I suppose. I wonder how feasible would it be to move laissez-faire? Reasonably. Already pissed off the factions, are already pissed off, so. Okay, foreign lead would be something potentially to build. Actually, just do all. All job seekers. Okay, we got some we can build in our own locations. At that point, yeah, there's more to build, but there's no job seekers there that want to build, want to work in the mine if we're to build it for them. Okay, do we have more declared interest I can get out and about? One more. Give me Brazil. Okay, so that means I can build their lead mines. And maybe later their oil mines as well, but oil wells as well, but just got investment rights in place that's got no lead. Doesn't solve my problems. That might solve the oil problems. We need some oil wells as well. Oil's the third highest, yeah. British, we're already in a war. England, these are too many wars. Can't fight all your wars for you. How am I going to keep those guys suppressed? Like, we're winning on the Tabriz front. But I can't just split off army there. These are the same front. Nope. Got two fronts over there. Oh dear. Your job. Somehow pull another army out of your butt. Okay, that's not gonna be too bad. Yeah, that's not gonna be too bad. Although, the reason it's not gonna be too bad is because I fired our sort of to. Yeah, we're on the Russian army. Probably would have been quicker just to push the barracks to the top instead of pushing everything to the bottom. But at this point, I'm committing to do it the stupid way. I do have the influence that I can go ahead and grab some more taxes, luxury clothes, fine arts. There we go. To be fair to the British, this is the Indians attacking them. Yeah, to be fair to the British, this is the Indians attacking them. You're a modernizer. Yeah. Just trying to think if I could get him into government, that'd be good. Probably no. Go to the exiled ones. I don't think we can invite any with the current law set. It's loading. This is not the most optimized these days. And available is none, yes. Oh, and I've got the new batch of 200 guys in the bottom. This time we'll do it the smart way and push the 200 to the top from the bottom. Well, let me click 200 times. You know, this could do with some way to, you know, interact or end the strike. But, nope, that's not how this works. It's not how it currently works, and we're getting just spammed with stuff that... They need to work on their spam. There's an uprising somewhere, but how did I get involved there? Oh, because it's against one of my subjects. That's what's going on. And it's against the subject thing that is my protectorate, so they were able to bring friends in. Okay. Hopefully the French can deal with that. Twitch chat saying, you still allied with England. Sorry if I didn't notice that for a while. Yeah, we're still allied with England. We've been accepting their call to arms. We're getting a little frustrated with being allied to England, because that's why we're at war with India right now, and Russia, at the same time. Although, to be fair to England, India declared war on England, while England was at war with Russia, and I think Russia started that one as well. So everyone's trying to bring down the monster that is the UK, except us. What's the leader of the trade union right now? Corporatist. We'll do that one. Then I got a Republican. If I wanted to, I could technically exile you. Yeah. We made it up to 3 billion GDP before the end of the game. There's been some rough patches. So the fascists are trying to take over. We'll authorize them to form government. How long that government sticks around is very questionable. Great Britain is calling us as an ally again against them because they're being defended again. Against what? Australia. Okay. Monetization program. Get railway to level 2 everywhere and get off for free trade. Okay. Let's finish laissez-faire before we try to go to an autocratic government. Oh, interesting. It said it was going to put these guys in government and kick everyone else out, and then it promptly didn't do that. Game be buggy sometimes. Oh, and of course the events went away because the events were associated with them being government. Cool. Okay. Three more years the game ends here. Tax on terrible telephones. Of course, we're getting spam of notifications. Some of them aren't bad notifications. It's just you don't need the same notification like 4 different ways. War goal has been on in Australia. It doesn't tell you what the war goal is. Like this, UI sometimes in this game is just not the smartest. And I've adjusted the camera here, and I don't know how to get it back to where it was. Wait and zoom all the way out. Does that help? Maybe. Up in the north, we're having problems because, where did my army go? Oh, it's still there. It's attrited to Kingdom coming back, but it's still there. Russians aren't willing to take White Peace yet. The British aren't willing to take White Peace yet. The British are in 2 different wars, about to be 3 different wars. And we're not losing any of them. We're not winning any of them. At this point, I don't have enough time to actually break the country with welfare, as long as I'm not completely stupid, so... I'm gonna just invest in welfare and see if that can deal with the general strike. General strike can sometimes be a bit weird, where it's like, how are you supposed to stop it? Well, you adapt to laws that the trade union likes. What if you already have those laws? What if the reason they're radical is because our country is a crazy mess? And thus you should be able to do the aggressive strike. It's like, oh, let's do strike breaking. Nope, there's no choices for that. Let me guess, it's probably because it's occupied. Yeah. Because apparently there's a front down there that I don't have any troops to fight on, and yeah, I don't have any troops to fight on that front. Which war are you guys from? The Australian one. I'm not gonna lose anything, we're just part of the Australian one. No. Sorry, England, I'm just... no. You got too much stuff going on. Oh. Butai... Maybe I did lose stuff. A subject. Probably lost a subject. Yeah, I lost a subject. Oh well. Better than basically having half the country occupied, because there's one tiny gap, because you don't have enough troops, don't have enough recruiting capacity to fight all the fronts. Contemplating. Before I'm gonna lose territory if I surrender to the Russians. So why wouldn't I surrender to the Russians? What about the Indians? I'm gonna lose stuff to the Indians? Yeah, I'm gonna lose stuff to the Indians. And any of these wars would be winnable. All of these wars together are not winnable. All's quiet on the Western Front, apparently. You know what that achievement is? You probably can understand how things are going horribly. Yeah, the GDP is at 3.3 billion. And honestly, the territories we're going to lose, I could just lose them. It'd be fine. Unemployment sounds least. It's down to 23.3 million. And I think they now fully occupy the objective. Yep, so I'm gonna get kicked out of the war with Russia eventually. Britain has screwed up. Okay, so the British are gonna get their objective. Well, the British might get their objective, because I think I'm the one occupying the territory as well, so they're... yeah. So we're not gonna occupy the territory at that point, I think. Although maybe they might technically keep one of the occupations down here. We'll see. Formed party. Okay, so they split off. Okay. Not sure how that's going to affect the electoral block at the end, but... oh, and we're having a revolt. One of our subjects. Okay, we're winning against the Indians at least. So we won't have to lose the stuff to the Indians. Although we're gonna lose the stuff to the Russians. Nice trench works. A little late to actually make a big difference in any of these ongoing wars. Might as well start them upgrading. What's that going to do? That's going to 50% more ammo, or 50% more small arms, 100% more ammo. Yep, we're about to capitulate to the Russians. The only way to save that would be if enough troops came back from the Indian front, the Indians surrendering soon enough. Some of those events where it's like, oh, do you want this person or this person? It's like, could you actually show us the character? That would be nice. But no, they don't. They don't. So sort of like, choose between two characters you don't care about. Yep. Do not care about them. Okay, so that's over. And we get laissez-faire. Okay. There's a bunch of stole champs from the parties that don't like it. Single party state would be reasonably well liked once it was in. Okay. Can we get one of the armies detached to deal with the revolt? Yeah, they say that revolt basically picked the worst time for that revolt. We're revolting! You know, we're just got like 100,000 guys coming back from the Indian front, right? You're gonna barely put together like 5,000. That's gonna go very poorly for them. Okay, so the goal was not to end this run this stream. I'd probably put the part break in here and bring it to an end. We've got like 2 years left in the game, and I want to get this done with. th of February, these guys rise up. only to get like 100,000 guys to the face. It's gonna be a very bad day for them. So let's drop some taxes. Unemployment's down, and continuing to fall. All these very small civil wars are slowly driving the radicals down, because winning a civil war does remove all the radicals. Oh, there we go. I reset the one place that was making, yeah, so I reset the one place that was making liquor to not make liquor. That would do it. Yeah, little space for domestic industry at this point. And we still have enough unemployed, I really don't want to do labor-saving PMs. Although, maybe I should. With labor-saving PMs, first of all, is going to lower subsidies for railroads. Subsidies... Steel mills actually have the highest, but railroads are pretty close behind with 1 million. Okay, once we're done through the queue, I'll go ahead and start turning on all the labor-saving railway PMs, and then building the transporter for short. Oh, that might be a good question. Are we actually going to get this queue? Probably, because it's not being... Apparently we've got actually some places that don't have turmoil anymore. It's still about a third of the country is full radical, but apparently that's not everywhere anymore. Okay, so more people own our GDP than we own of other people's GDP. And most of that is Great Britain. 16,500 levels of GDP, or of buildings owned. Which is 1.2 billion GDP owned by the Great Britain. Okay. Yeah, the nation is as good as it's ever been. Not better, as we sneak up on 4 billion GDP. Standard of living of 18.1. Unemployment is probably the lowest it's been since the beginning of the game, 13.6 million. Okay. Start cutting on rail transport. This is, of course, going to cause unemployment. Although it creates more demand in the economy. Creating demand for transport itself. Went ahead and subsidized all these industries so that basically if it does cause them to be cost ineffective for a while we're building the rails, us and our massive government surpluses can pay for that. Cycle a week. And then this is transport. What are we getting per level? About, let's say 50. It's a little over 50, but that's fine. And a lot of places already had that level of transport, so all they did was make more money and make more unemployed. In most places. Yeah, so unemployed spiked by about 6 million. And that did lower the GDP by a bit. Yeah, that definitely reduced the subsidies to the railways. All the railways in some places are still being subsidized. Put the railway benefits up. Oh, not more wars, England. Yeah, we've got a defensive agreement with you. Come to war. Spain sides with Italy. No one's actually joined this war yet that I care to even mobilize against. Honestly, I think the economy is just improving through labor-saving PMs. We're going to get the last Social Security in, which will probably help distribute more money from the government budget to propping up demand, raising the standard of living, which is the highest, well, not quite the highest it's ever been in the entire game. We were up at 18.2 earlier at some point, but unemployment's almost back down to where it was earlier, before we did the labor-saving PMs. There's mass surveillance. Oh, and that's the entire society tree research at this point. So we've got the military left, and a couple in the production that we don't care about. We don't have the oil to run oil turbines. I'm not going to futz the electricity to the capital ships and the arc weld building. Well, the arc weld buildings may be a little tempting. It really needed to be kicked in earlier if it was going to make a big difference. Or upgrading the fleet, maybe. Anyway, we're basically just waiting until the end of the year. It's September. We're going to roll through what's left this year. The coup's not going to succeed. The strike's not going to go away. The only thing that might change is we may get up to 4 billion GDP. Might round 3.9 up to 4 billion at this point. The standard of living's actually declining, apparently. You'd assume that Social Security would be helping. Although am I being, like, raided or something? Oh, we got a naval landing. Okay. I'm gonna get the hint of, I haven't bothered to mobilize. Maybe I'm only in the war because I'm technically in the war, not because you need to actually invade me, guys. And the GDP rises, although the GDP rising in this situation to get us over the hump is actually just the military-industrial complex revving up to keep the Italians from landing Beijing. Yep, we'll give the guys a tax break for the last month of the game. I don't need revenue. We don't get to take this money into the next game. We can go a little bit step further. Let's approve the consumption taxes. Here we go. And in a couple days, the game ends. There's the Victorian century. The game is over. We get our final screen here. So, laborers, as you might imagine, make up the largest component of the government, or the population, although the capitalists are apparently the most politically powerful, followed by engineers. So, the wealthy have all the political power. The population are all the people doing all the work. The Han are the majority of the population and the majority of the political strength, although they're a little bit more political strength than they are population. Population is mostly Confucian at 65.4%, with Buddhist being the second largest. Sunni coming in third. Apparently the Protestants are more politically powerful than the Sunni, however. For what reason? No idea. We are at the end of Constitutional Empire. State religion Confucian. With Manchu, we didn't end up losing Manchu in the end, so we managed to keep Han and Manchu. Population, I think, got up to 891 million. Prestige up to 20.8 thousand, which was enough to put us in first. Although you can see, bankruptcy did not help the prestige. Bankruptcy did not help the standard of living. It didn't help the gross domestic product. Although most of them, in the end, ended up overcoming that. We did get the standard of living up to the highest it was at the end of the game at 18.5. Unless it just ticked over near the end. Or maybe it's rounding up on this screen. We're over 4 billion on the GDP. Population was smoothly going up. Even, and in fact, that kind of shows you, like, I'm fighting massive wars to hold on to tiny little bits of territory. Because, like, it's Chinese clay. None of the Chinese people lived in those territories. They were empty territories. So that's imperialism for you. We weren't even fighting for our people. We're fighting for bits on the map. We'll continue to play here, so we can go actually see. Yes, we'd like to load in ourselves. Thank you. Get a bit more in detail by going to the population screen here. The lower strata were middling at 16.4, secure for the middle strata at 22.9, and absolutely opulent for the upper class. And there's just over 1 million upper class members, 250 million middle class, and about 500 million, almost coming to 2/3 of a billion lower strata pops. So yes, lots of people. Didn't quite make it to 900 million. We do the show more here, and you can see where everyone lines up. So the peasants were basically gone. The aristocrats were going from a population standpoint. Although the aristocrats were holding on to a decent amount of power for being almost non-existent. At 0.07% of the population, they held 2.93% of the power. Capitalists don't even make up 0.5%, and they make up 21.1% of the power. So the capitalists were quite powerful. The engineers were actually pretty proportional to their population, only 50% more power than the population. Same sort of thing with the farmers. That's wealth versus population, right? We swapped over to landed voting, so wealth is still pretty valuable, but population does vote. But the laborers and the machinists, the clerks, are kind of underrepresented because they're not very wealthy. And then the landed people obviously are overrepresented. Culture-wise, mostly Han, followed by Yu, followed by Manchu. So the three main cultures, the Han, Yu, and the Manchu, which of course will start in China. Min do as well. I think the Hakka do as well. China does own Mongolia at game start, so Mongolia being up there makes sense. The Tibetan apparently have more political power than a lot of the other groups, given the fact that we don't actually own Tibet at the end. Then Vietnam, okay. That's the cultural makeup. Big list of cultures, although most of the cultures are, by Chinese standards, underrepresented. Yeah, to make 1%, you need 1 million people, so underrepresented by Chinese standards, although 1 million people is still a lot of people. Religions. Confucian's up there at the top, Buddhist falling right behind. Sunnis were very underpowered. I guess they must have been mostly in poorer regions where the Protestants were. Okay, the Protestants being in third does make reasonable sense because they were just behind the Sunnis in actual count from a political standpoint. Probably meaning they were from the more wealthy regions. Okay, Dharmic. So this is... I don't happen to know what... I want to say Buddhist, but I don't think it's Buddhist. It's an Eastern religion. Could be a Buddhist offset. Yeah, that's not what I want from that nesting thank you game. It's Dharmic. Yeah, I don't know if that's Buddhist or... Theravada is Buddhist. It's probably Buddhist. Animist, okay. Shiite to the other Muslims. Hindu. Pretty sure that's Buddhist. And then Catholics, obviously Orthodox. Sheiks and Jews. And again, to make 1% of the population in China, you need to be 1 million people, which is a lot of people. That's the population. And yeah, we have to really work hard, I think, to find the unemployed. But I suspect the unemployed are probably the lower struggling pops. Yeah, peasants here. And some of these peasants are going to be unemployed, I suspect. Although maybe not. Destitute. Not quite sure why you're destitute. And then here's the census data. Go by various states. And yeah, you can see we do have unemployment problems. Because we're still kicking around with 16.3 million unemployed. Although at this point, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the unemployed were laborers from us doing the thing with the railways. I think that did benefit us in the long run, but it was what it was. Biggest Chinese state. Beijing is not the biggest Chinese state. Although, what, it's 6th. Pretty far up there. In the end, we had more aristocrats than peasants. Though not by much. 3 times. Had more officers than peasants. That's just showing you how large our army got near the end. How small the peasantry got. And with that, I think that's going to be the end of this run. If you're watching on YouTube, I do understand that this is probably coming live couple days after a major patch just went up. The next time we're going to be playing Victoria 3 is going to be on the next major patch. So, I know from the little strands of things that I've read about the patch notes that the balance, at least as far as China's concerned, is going to change drastically. The laws that we start on, so both serfdom and guild system are going to apply minimum peasant and subsistent farm ratios, which that's okay. China, you might have somebody that's not a problem early on, but that's going to change the balance. The construction sectors are going to get their cost reduced from 100 to 25, which I suppose technically that's a buff. Okay, so you got 1 nerf, you got 1 buff. And then the base construction, instead of being base of like 10, I believe it's getting reduced to like 2. Granted, it gets modified by your GDP. China probably has enough GDP, it gets the base of 10. But they're changing a couple different things up. They're looking to change the balance for the Great Qing. I probably will play the Great Qing again on the next major patch. I may wait a couple patches to see if they do more balance changes, because they almost always do balance changes. I think on the 12th, which will be the day after the patch comes out, we're going to be streaming United States. Because I think I'm going to play... Well, the plan originally was, before the major patch was coming out, was to do Great Qing into the United States, or do Great Qing, United States, India. Maybe not in that order, depending on how it was going to go. I think it was probably going to do India. The China was supposed to be a warm-up for India. But with the balance changes, I think we're going to do United States first, just so we've got a slightly easier play, because India is India with the DLC that affects India, I think, is a lot harder than it used to be. So yeah, if you're watching YouTube, well, if you're watching on YouTube, there'll probably be a part up tomorrow. It'll probably be in the United States. It'll probably be on the next major patch. Obviously, this is on the last patch, so if you're watching this live on YouTube, when it comes out, or whatever, on YouTube, obviously this won't, the balance will be different, which may or may not make it easier. I haven't seen the exact numbers on the subsistence farms from Serfdom and Guild. I suspect it's not going to initially be a problem for China, but it'll be a problem later on if you don't get off those laws quickly enough. If you're watching on Twitch, let me bring up the schedule for the next couple days. As I said, obviously, in 4 days, we're going to be doing this again. We're going to do Victoria 3, although we're going to be doing a new game as the United States on the next major patch. Tomorrow is going to be Shadow Empire. We're currently, I believe, tied for first, slowly moving forward on that. And I think we're in a position to very rapidly shoot into a pretty solid first. Although, how long it's going to take from us to go from first to win, that's kind of what's up in the air. Shadow Empire probably will be more than one session going forward. But Tuesday will be Shadow Empire. Wednesday will be Terra Invicta. I think we're going to be far enough in that hopefully we'll get some space combat. We already know that one of the other factions has spaceships, so it's not unheard of for us to get spaceships at this point. Thursday will be a continuation of Strategic Command, World War I. Our game is the Entente Powers, continues. And then Friday will be Victoria 3. And unless there's like game-breaking bugs or something like that on Victoria 3 because of the major patch, we'll probably be in the United States then. Feel free to leave any comments you want, or asking anything about the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, YouTube handles things are commenting pretty well. I will have a save from this point as soon as the stream ends, so I can come back and look at any of this stuff if I didn't see the thing you didn't look at the thing you wanted to see stat-wise. If you're watching on Twitch, this is probably your last opportunity to get comments responded to. We're going to bring the stream down. I'm going to leave the stream up for about a minute after in the YouTube recording, which I'm about to do. With that, I'm going to wish you all the best of luck and a good time until the next part and/or stream, and bye for now.